Undercover CEO found a maid crying over an unpaid hospital bill. What happened next changed everything. The cafeteria was almost empty save for the faint buzz of the fluorescent lights and the lonely hum of the vending machine. It was well past midnight and most of the building was asleep. The last workers had gone home hours ago. Only the cleaning crew remained, quietly moving from floor to floor, unseen and unthanked. David, disguised in his worn-out maintenance uniform, was wiping down a table when he heard it, a sound that didn't belong. Not the clink of dishes, not the scrape of chairs. It was softer, sharper, and it pierced straight into him, a muffled sob. He turned toward the corner, and that's when he saw her. Maria, one of the cleaning staff, sat slumped in a chair near the window. Her apron was still tied around her waist, and her hands covered her face. On the table in front of her lay a piece of paper, crumpled, folded, and unfolded so many times it had nearly torn at the edges. David hesitated. For weeks he had walked these halls undercover, posing as just another worker, trying to understand what life was really like for the people who kept his billion-dollar company running at its roots. But this moment felt different. It wasn't about research anymore, it was about humanity. "Are you all right?" he asked quietly. Maria, startled, quickly wiping her eyes with the sleeve of her uniform. She forced a smile that fooled no one. "I'm fine. Just tired. It's been a long day." David pulled out a chair and sat across from her. "Sometimes," he said gently, "when people say they're fine, what they really mean is they don't know how to carry the weight anymore." Her lip trembled, and the dam broke. "My daughter," she whispered, voice cracking. "She's in the hospital. She needs surgery. The doctor said it can't wait any longer." But her fingers pushed the paper toward him. It was a hospital bill, and at the bottom, circled in angry red ink, was a number that could crush anyone making less than a manager's salary. "I clean offices. I mop floors. I scrub bathrooms. I work double shifts," she said, her voice breaking. "And it's still not enough. I can't save her." Her words hit him harder than any boardroom argument, any Wall Street crisis. He had sat across billionaires, faced down hostile takeovers, negotiated deals worth millions, but nothing felt as urgent, as real as the tears of this woman in a faded uniform. David wanted to tell her right then who he was, that the man sitting in front of her had the power to erase that bill with the stroke of a pen. But something stopped him. He realized this wasn't just about one bill. It was about the system, about how someone so hard-working, so faithful could still fall through the crack. He needed to see more, understand more before acting. Over the next week, David shadowed Maria's shifts. He watched her scrub the marble lobby floors until her knees ached, polish brass railings that no one noticed, and empty trash bins stuffed with coffee cups from employees who never even looked her way. Some ignored her completely, others left messes with careless entitlement, and yet she carried herself with quiet dignity. She never complained, but David saw what others didn't. The way she pressed her hand to her back when she thought no one was looking. The way her eyes lingered on the clock as if time itself was an enemy. The way her smile dimmed every time her phone buzzed with an update from the hospital. One evening after her shift ended, Maria went to see her daughter. David followed at a distance, keeping to the shadow. In the hospital room, he saw a little girl lying in bed, tubes snaking around her fragile body. Yet her eyes lit up the moment Maria walked in. "Mama," she whispered, reaching out her tiny hand. Maria kissed her forehead, whispering promises that everything would be okay. But David saw the truth written across her face. She didn't know how she would pay. She didn't know if her promises could be kept. Later, he overheard the doctor speaking. "We can't proceed without payment." Those words seared into David's mind. He had faced countless business challenges, but none compared to this, an innocent child's future hanging on a balance sheet. Back at the company, David wrestled with what he had seen. His executives talked about quarterly profits, new contracts, international expansion, but not once did they talk about people like Maria, the ones cleaning the floors beneath their polished shoes, the ones whose names they didn't bother to learn. It was time to change that. The next morning, a company-wide meeting was called. Employees filled the auditorium, buzzing with speculation. Executives in suits sat in the front rows, waiting for the CEO to address them. But when David walked to the stage, it wasn't the man in overalls they saw. It was the CEO himself, revealed at last. The room fell silent. Maria, standing in the back with her cleaning cart, gasped and nearly dropped her mop. David looked across the sea of faces. For the past month, he began. I have not been in my office. I've been here among you. Working, listening, learning, and what I discovered shook me to my core. He paused, his eyes finding Maria's in the crowd. I met someone who reminded me what true strength looks like. She cleans this building every night, often without thanks. She works until her body aches, and then she works some more. She smiles at people who don't see her. She carries burdens most of us can't imagine. And she is fighting a battle no parent should face alone. The room turned. All eyes landed on Maria. She stood frozen, tears already streaming down her cheeks. David's voice grew firm. Her daughter needs life-saving surgery, and today, I am here to say this. She will get it. Not tomorrow, not someday. Today, the company will cover the full cost, but this isn't just about one family. From this moment forward, we are creating a fund to ensure that no employee of ours, no matter their position, will ever have to choose between their paycheck and their child's life. The room erupted in applause. Executives, employees, and workers alike stood to their feet. Maria covered her mouth, sobbing openly as her co-workers embraced her. For the first time, she felt seen, not as the maid, not as the cleaner, but as a human being who mattered. A week later, Maria's daughter had her surgery. David visited the hospital quietly, standing outside the room as the little girl squeezed her mother's hand and whispered, "Mama, I'm not scared anymore." Maria looked up and saw him, her eyes filled with gratitude so deep that words seemed too small to hold it. "How do I thank you?" she asked, her voice breaking. David smiled softly. "You already did. You reminded me why I built this company, not just for profits, for people, for families, for hope." The story didn't end there. Challenges remained. Bills, responsibilities, long shifts. But something had shifted inside the company and inside Maria. Her coworkers treated her differently. Management began reevaluating wages, benefits, and the way they saw the very people who kept the company alive. Maria walked the halls with her head held a little higher. She was no longer invisible. Word of the story spread beyond the company. News outlets picked it up. Other CEOs began asking themselves hard questions. Employees across industries started demanding change. And all of it started with one moment. An undercover CEO choosing to stop and listen to a maid crying in the corner of a cafeteria. In the end, the message was clear. Greatness is not measured by the size of a paycheck or the square footage of a corner office. It is measured by the lives you touch, the dignity you restore, and the courage you show when faced with another person's pain. For Maria, life would never be the same. Her daughter healed. Her coworkers respected her. And for the first time in years, hope felt real. And for David, the CEO who chose to see beyond titles and uniforms, the greatest profit he ever earned was the knowledge that he had changed not just a life, but an entire culture. Because sometimes, all it takes to change everything is to stop, to listen, and to care.